Hey everybody! I'm so excited for you to be here with me and Tiffany. And it's just so lovely. So thank you for hanging out with us. This is Are You Scared of the Starch Solution, our twice monthly event, which we do with Tiffany and Stacy. So this is Tiffany's week. So I'm super excited because I'm all witched out for you. Look, my Believe in Magic mug, my moon's out, broom's out. I'm feeling very witchy for the year coming up. So if you guys have some questions, I want you to go ahead and just put it in the chat so we can ask Tiffany. But I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are in case they didn't.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I apologize for my voice, but I am under the weather currently. My name is Tiffany Hobson. I'm the Vice President of Operations at Dr. McDougall Health and Medical Center. I've been working there for almost 24 years, and I have done almost every position except be a medical doctor or a psychologist or a nutritionist. I leave that to our experts. And I'm just happy to really be here with you today. You know, we're in the thick of the holidays. Thanksgiving has come and gone. We are now on track for Hanukkah and Christmas and Kwanzaa and Boxing Day and New Year's and the Epiphany. So, you know, and then if you have birthdays, I know my birthday falls in this realm, so as my daughter, so this is just a real fun, festive time for my family. So I welcome any questions that you have, or if there are any topics you want to talk about, let's talk about them.
Awesome. And when's your birthday?
The 24th of December.
Ooh, so you're a Capricorn?
I am, as my daughter, she's the 6th of January.
I have a lot of friends that are Capricorns actually. So like we have a big December, January birthdays all the time, which can be hard. And you said yours was the 24th. So did you feel a little overshadowed as a child?
It's an understatement. Because depending on the year, Hanukkah would fall on my birthday, and then there's Christmas. So, you know, my parents try to make my birthday,
Oh,
and, you
good.
know, like that. So to this day, if you're opening Christmas gifts on the 24th, I want nothing to do with you. I don't even want to talk to you because that's not Christmas. But, you know, sometimes Hanukkah would hit, but the way that we celebrated Hanukkah was more for the tradition and the story, not necessarily trying to keep up with Christmas and exchanging gifts. So Christmas was gift time. Hanukkah was, you know, just going through the story and lighting the menorah and whatnot.
That's
So
interesting.
yes, you know, and I called people out on it, like my grandparents sometimes, or aunts and uncles when I noticed, hey, I get one gift for Christmas and birthday, but everybody else gets a birthday gift, and then they get a Christmas gift now. So, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's a hard, as you're an adult, it's a hard time of year. Like I always figured as I got older, I could hang out with more and more people, and then everybody has family commitments. You know, and then it's also a very broke time of year because we're trying to buy gifts for our friends and family. So, you know, I am really about my birthday. I'm really about birthdays in general. My husband is not. So he hates it that my daughter and I make such a huge deal about his birthday. But you know, we have a really nice tradition. My daughter loves traditions. So on my birthday, I never cook. And we always go
Oh,
to an Italian restaurant where, you know, there might be a little oil if I get the pesto, but at least the pesto doesn't have cream in it. Or if I get the marinara, I'm sure the marinara sauce has a little cream in it, but their minestrone soup is on point. I get a salad. I just have, you know, balsamic vinegar on it. You know, if it's my birthday and I want to like have a dessert, I will. But it's, you know, one of those things that we really go to the town of Sonoma. If anybody knows of Sonoma, California, they do a live manger scene. So literally,
oh,
we go like to one place and get bread and champagne and cookies for my daughter. Or if she wants French fries, I'm on a birthday, I'm all about live big, right? And then we go pet animals, and then we go somewhere else and check things out, and then we go back and pet the animals. So we kind of make a fun day of it.
Well, I think it's important too, what you're talking about too, is that, and Stacy's talked about this before, is kind of like if you're having a birthday, a holiday, a special occasion, or just a special occasion that's your special occasion that no one else has labeled, if you're making a plan around this are things I'm going to do instead of, I find that there's birthday creep these days. So it was a birthday week and now it's a birthday month. And then, so that makes it much harder. If you're just like doing this on one day, maybe you can't celebrate on your actual birthday, but pick a day. Would you say that that's a good strategy?
Yeah, I'm not about the birthday creep personally, because I think it sets people up to go right back into the pleasure trap. And
Exactly.
when you do that, then it's a lot harder for you to crawl out of the pleasure trap later. So for me, it's like, hey, if it's my birthday's coming up, and today's the third, so I already think about it. Every year I give myself the option if I want a croissant, because we have three fabulous French bakeries in driving distance where they get everything from France and it's French owners. If I do want a croissant, then starting this weekend, I will basically eat soup every day until my birthday because I'm planning for that. I know that fat calorie bombs there, so I know I better have my cardio on. I better be exercising at least 3 times a week. Like I'm very forefront about that because then when it's my birthday, I'm good. I don't have any guilt. I don't care. Now, that said, I also don't have any medical issues. So it's not a big deal. So what I do is I eat really simply and I even drive down my weight to a point that if I gain 5 pounds the next day on Christmas, I don't care. And for me, Christmas, I don't care because, for those, I know somebody said that their birthday was on the 21st, so they can relate. When your birthday is very close to it, your birthday becomes very sacred. So for me, I'd rather eat very healthy and plain Jane on Christmas and enjoy my birthday because that's my true holiday. And for me, I don't get a cake for my birthday. I'm looking more towards 2 weeks later on my daughter's birthday. I want her to have a great cake. And she has like a slice, and I might have a slice, and we'll piece it out. And then I make sure she has at least 2 to 3 slices for the coming days to enjoy that birthday cake because she's a kid, and I think all kids deserve that, especially her because she eats so healthy all the time and makes healthy choices on her own. And Beth, oh wait, Adriana, hi. Nice to see you. Oh, nice that you're there. Thank you. I don't see you. Beth, it's always a pleasure. You're fantastic. Beth was a patient of ours at the McDougall program. I'm her support specialist, and she has just thrived. And the only thing she's done is listen to me and the program. So, Beth, really, you've done all the work. You've just listened and actually implicated what we have taught you in your real life. So, it seems difficult, but it really is as easy as that. Oh, Adriana, your birthday is the 21st. Okay. Let's see. Lots of love to you, Beth. Hi, Helen. I'm kind of going through your Zoom. Mona. Hi, Mona. You heard in a Zoom meeting that Dr. Goldner felt that rice is inflammatory. My first question is, who's Dr. Goldner? I don't know Dr. Goldner. Rice, it's one of our main starches. Our rheumatoid arthritis patients that we've had haven't had a problem with it. I think what becomes more inflammatory with rice at some points is what you're putting on your rice. So if you're eating plain rice, it shouldn't be an issue. But if all of a sudden you're putting things in that might have some bits of dairy in it or whatnot, then I can see where rice would be inflammatory, but it's not the rice itself, it's what is accompanying it. I don't know
Hey,
where you're at.
Tiffany,
Yes.
I just wanted to, so a lot of people do follow Dr. Brooke Goldner. They watch her on Chef AJ. So she is, it's a totally different plan. So she does good, started with doing good by lupus because she cured her lupus with a
Okay.
mostly raw food diet. She does a big green smoothie. It's very different than the starch solution.
Okay.
So it's just a very different thing. There's so many doctors and things out here, and I know that you guys are focused on what you're doing, and I get to hear some of the things going around. So, but it is more raw. She does lots of cauliflower. I think there's two protocols, one where you can have some cooked food, one where you can't. And at that point, she's kind of probably, this is my guesstimate, I wasn't there, thinks that maybe somehow cooking the food might be inflammatory. But I will tell you guys this from my personal experience. When Cheryl and I did the 12-day McDougall program last October, Cheryl's legs went back to skinny chicken legs, like in front of our eyes. Like it was crazy because with her type 2 diabetes and some things, she can really get inflammation. And I was still putting some salt in the food. I was making more elaborate meals, but all that were compliant because I wanted her buy-in. So I was making like mashed potatoes and gravy. Obviously no oil in the gravy. You don't need oil in gravy. And we can talk about that later if we need to. I've got about 17 gravies you can make without oil. And I air fried some tofu that I put in nutritional yeast and some poultry seasoning, so she got to have chicken, like down home food, right? So I worked really hard. So just to be clear, we weren't just eating plain oatmeal, potatoes, and rice. She got to have a little bit of everything, and her inflammation, we were eating a lot of rice, went down a lot. But that's a personal experience.
Absolutely. So I work for the McDougalls. And I've been there for almost 24 years. This is what I know. This is what I've seen with patients. My background is as a pharmacy technician. So I've worked in hospitals. I've been chemo certified. I've really kind of done the gamut when it comes to pharmacy in my realm. And I'm more basic. Anytime somebody says, oh, you need to eat a lot of X, I then think, well, what if you live in a place where there is no X? Does that mean you're screwed? So I'm very just basic, and the McDougall message is very basic, and it's what I've seen year after year with helping our patients achieve better health.
And
And
that makes sense too, kind of what you're saying. And also, I think I get a little protective of rice because then there's the whole people worrying about arsenic in the rice and people, because a lot of times what I see, and I know you see it through your clients as well, is like one study might say something, but it's not necessarily conclusive, and it's one study and not 100 studies. And then everyone starts to panic, right?
exactly. Not only that, but are you looking at who funded the study? Who's behind it? And when you're reading who has funded it or who is behind it, do you really know who those companies are or those people are? Because if you research even further, then you start going, oh, they're connected to the dairy industry. Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So these are things that you really want to just be very cognizant about. My husband and I, we laugh all the time. He's like, I could go online and find 1,000 articles that negate what you do for people. And I'm like, I know. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's the beauty and the curse of the World Wide Web. You have a lot of great information. You have a lot of misinformation.
Well, and everybody's trying to do the right thing and researching. It depends on which way you go. And it's really, I have always been a self-experimenter, for good or for bad. I am lucky that I've had that kind of option. So try it. I mean, like some things aren't super safe to try. You need a doctor to let you know you can try them. But like, in my touchier feely days, I tried Bach flour remedies. They're not going to hurt you, but did it work for me or did it not? We can't try all these different diets, right? And I am also firmly in the camp that if it was a placebo effect or not, and it's like a Bach flower remedy or an essential oil, I'm okay. If it made me happier and I had a better day. But that is a very different situation than overhauling everything you put in your mouth, right? And so I just kind of wanted to put that out there because it's good to experiment in some things. But I can tell you right now, you're never going to see me go on the carnivore diet after not eating meat for 40 some years, right?
Are you sure?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm so sure. Even if studies came out that it's the best thing in the entire world, I would not do it. So I feel good about
Right.
but I think it's also, I tend to be a little more open for things. So like when I'm researching maybe a new recipe, I will look at meat recipes to get some of the basic flavor. If someone's asked me to make their favorite dish from growing up and I didn't grow up there, I do a lot of that research and other people can't. That's the kind of research that I think that becomes beneficial for you. But I do agree there's so much misinformation, and even within the whole food plant-based community, each doctor is different. Like even though, Dr. McDougall and Dr. Furman, most of the things are similar, but there's still going to be a few differences. And I don't know, I always say, and you can tell me your feelings on this, is that I think in the beginning, at least, if not forever, but at the beginning, pick one doctor. Try that out, because you can't really do Dr. Greger's daily dozen. You can't do all of them at the same time.
I agree. The first thing that I look at, if I'm a consumer, because remember that when I came to this, I knew nothing of this. So Dr. McDougall never said, "Oh, here's my book, read it." He said, "You work at a hospital. Go into the medical library and read some medical journal articles, and here's a list for you." So I have a lot of respect for evidence-based research. And I also have a lot of respect for somebody who doesn't really waver. Like Dr. McDougall always said, I have the right to change my opinion depending on the research that is presented. And he might have changed his opinion here and there on very minute issues, but if you come through and look at like the bigger ones, or how to eat, he has never changed his stance ever. I mean, this is a man that actually, I won't say who, but there was a very famous vitamin company that came to him, and Dr. McDougall could have, I mean, literally probably become almost a multi-millionaire, if not billionaire, on vitamin cells, and he refused. So I look at a person's principles as well. And I do think that you cannot choose multiple doctors at once. You really can't. You need to choose something, see, does it work for you? How does it work for you? I mean, in the plant-based community, hey, any change is better than no change. So I mean, if you're just starting to jump on board, I'm thrilled for you. I really am, because little changes, if you stick with them, can get really big ones. But it's when people start cherry picking, that's when I find that that's the biggest issue is, oh, when I have patients that say, I'm doing the McDougall program, why is my cholesterol going up? And then I start seeing what they're eating and what they're doing, and it's like, yeah, no, you're not doing the McDougall program, you're doing your program. You've just picked these like 7 different people to follow at the same time, and you really just can't do that.
I totally agree with you on that, because like if that's true, then, and I've seen people do well on Dr. Furman's, Dr. Greger. Chef Julia lost her weight doing following Dr. Greger's. A lot of people have lost, if you're looking to lose weight or release weight, Dr. McDougall. But like if I take the what is it, the Daily Dozen or something, there's stuff on there. If I'm trying to lose weight on the McDougall program, I don't want to eat. I don't want to eat nuts every day. It's not beneficial.
Well, not only that, but from a medical standpoint, to me, that brings up a socioeconomic barrier. I mean, what if you're, on food stamps, like you're barely making it and you live in the projects? Because I grew up, I've seen people, I know what the projects look like, and nobody wants to be there. You know,
Yeah.
if you say, hey, if you can't do the daily dozen, you're not going to be healthy. To me, that's, how do I rephrase this? Um, that's not true, and that's very disheartening
Well,
when
and
you're in the medical
it
profession.
is a little elitist, and for those of you following Dr. Greger, I want to be real clear. I'm not saying any individual who's watching this, the concept. So, like what we hear a lot of times, and I'm sure you hear this too, is being vegan or plant-based is really expensive. And it can be if you buy certain things. However, most of the world that lives below the poverty level is eating mostly vegan. They're eating beans and rice and potatoes and vegetables that they grow. And when I've been poor, I've been vegetarian most of my adult life. It's always beans and rice that you come back to, because you can probably go to the dollar store and spend $5 and eat for the week. But I think that some of these very specific programs often give the plant-based community a feel of being a little bit expensive, picky, certain things like that. And I wholeheartedly agree with you that I think, and what I say all the time is I feel like the Dr. McDougall program, the Starch solution, is both the easiest and least expensive to get started with.
Right.
Right? And I do, and I'm really drawn to that everyone can do it. It doesn't take a special thing. Like you're seeing a few people talking about they're also following Dr. Goldner. One of the things is, like, those big Costco spinaches or mixed greens, you're kind of using several of those a week. And that can be also expensive.
Absolutely.
So, I think that happens. And Mona was saying she's done rice, cauliflower, and Japanese vegetables. That's delicious. And that can be part of your diet in any of them. But I will say, and I hesitate to do this, but I worry about people doing the Dr. Goldner. I'm not a medical professional. I am a recipe developer. This is my human opinion, is that I worry sometimes when people do the Dr. Goldner program and the Starch solution, kind of like what you're saying, mixing and matching. I would just be aware of how it's affecting you and if you're meeting your goals. How would you kind of put testers out for that? Like,
Well, I think that, like, if for a patient that has inflammation and they have no idea where it's coming from, then Dr. McDougall had an answer for that. It's the elimination diet. It's a very strict diet. And I've had many patients look at it when I send it to them and they go, oh, well, can I do this instead of that? And it's like, no. Dr. McDougall, this is it. It's like, cook your fruit and you can only have these fruits and you can only have like these foods. And what it does is it brings you back to base. It's almost like water fasting, bringing you back to base, except you're doing it with food. And then you're at baseline for a while. And then all of a sudden, after a while, now you're going to add one thing. And you're going to see, did that affect you or not? If it did, okay, well, maybe, that's something you should avoid, and then you go back to just eating plain. And if it didn't affect you, okay, well, let's try something else. So it's a very slow process, but it's a very real process of figuring out what foods may or may not be helping or hampering you.
I think that's great. I just wanted to put some real actionable information after that opinion of mine, which I try not to throw out those kinds of opinions, but I just want people to be careful, especially over the holidays. We're coming so close to the beginning of January when everybody wants to throw everything out the window and start again. My brain wants to do it too. Let me also assure you that I'm not immune to almost for 59 New Years where we're supposed to do everything different. But I'm also going, wait, how can I reset what worked best for me and let that be my new year? And so I'm just, as seeing all people do this, like, and Tanya was saying, I've read, and we were seeing don't major in the minor things, which we've all heard before. Tanya says, I've read all of Dr. Greger's books. I take what is helpful and leave the rest. He's far too majoring on the minor things for me. Like, I like my bananas with berries. And so as soon as he posted, Stacy actually talked, came on the morning after he had said, if you eat bananas with your blueberries, it may lower your whatever. And it's like, my answer to that is eat more blueberries then. Blueberries are delightful. Have 2 tablespoons on your oatmeal. But I mean, don't worry that, because you don't know how much you're actually absorbing anyhow when you get into these micro numbers unless you're being tested. So
I always find it really interesting with people that they get excited about how healthy they are once they start eating healthier. But when they weren't eating healthier, this never entered their mind. So I find it's funny. It's like, why didn't you think about these questions when you were eating the way you used to? Now you're eating healthier. Now you're stressed out about, my God, am I getting enough calcium? Am I getting enough this or that? I think, and there again, too much information is not always good information.
well, and I think that's true, and we all know, anyone who's ever gone vegan or plant-based ever knows that everyone around you immediately turns into kind of like a nutritional scientist because they're worried about where you're getting your protein from. Where do you get your protein? Like, people who are eating French fries all day long are super interested in my protein needs. So it is a very interesting switch. Like, I've never talked about nutrition with this person in my life. And this is interesting. Raven, a friend asked me to explain how the starch is used to fuel the body versus how protein is the fuel in an omnivore diet. And so Stacy, I'm so sorry. Tiffany, this is Tiffany, not the other one. Stacy will watch that.
Here, like, you guys now have Tracy. Is that our like mixed name?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so let's go back to basic biology. Okay, and I'm not a biologist, but I took enough biology courses in my day. Biology is based on structure and function. So, what does your body need to function? For your brain to tell the rest of your body what it needs to do? Anybody? Okay, well, it's glucose. So what's the most efficient way to get glucose? It's from carbohydrate. Now, when you devoid like an Atkins diet, this is why people drop weight really quick. It's scientifically fascinating, not great for your health, but it's great. Is that when you devoid yourself of carbohydrate, then your body, which is a very efficient machine, is looking around like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We need glucose for the brain, because if the brain doesn't have glucose, then we can't walk, we can't breathe, we can't do anything. And so this is where ketosis comes into play. Where, okay, well, what's ketosis? This is where you take protein and you do a little magic. I'm not going to bore everybody with the breakdown of biology, and then you end up extrapolating out and making glucose for your brain so it can continue to function. Well, this is why people lose weight really quickly, because when you throw your body into ketosis, then your body's working on overload. It is like triple time. I mean, and it needs to do something. So, as for when somebody's like more of an omnivore, kind of going back and forth, I guess my question is, well, what do you mean by that? Do you mean that every day they have a few bites of fish, but everything else is starch and vegetables? Or once a week they have, a meat or, fish product? I mean, so that would be kind of my question along the lines. You know, I'm never going to tell anybody who is absolutely healthy and has no issues, hey, if you want a bite of turkey on Thanksgiving, you can't do it. I'm not going to say that. But for my patients that have had a quadruple bypass, I will be the first person to say, you might want to rethink that one. Think you've had enough turkey. So, I mean, how healthy are you? I mean, this is what comes down to when we're looking at people as patients. You're all individual. You all have individual needs. You have individual medical histories. Some of you are super healthy. Some of you are not. Anything that anybody does, even if somebody tells me, hey, I eat meat still 3 times a week, well, that's better than 7. So I always look for more of the positive, and I try to really accentuate the positive of them eating healthier, so that maybe down the line they'll have meat 2 days a week. So I really don't try to hamper on things like that. I do want to get back though, if you don't mind,
No.
kind of catch up. Guy, your granddaughter's born on Christmas morning. I hope you're British and you celebrate Boxing Day and her birthday is just her birthday. Tanya, I want to, this is something I really want to clarify, because I heard Kathy say, me too, Tanya, that you can't do that, work out like crazy. Look, I never said I work out like crazy. I just make sure I go for a walk every day. And I usually walk every day, or at least 6 days a week. I usually work out 3 times a week. I just make sure I'm going to work out 3 times a week. It's like I don't have a buy in that realm if I know in a few weeks on my birthday, I'm going to enjoy myself. I don't stress over it. It's just, personally for me, soup is a dieting. I love soup. That's how I lost all my weight, eating potatoes and soup. I could have romaine lettuce, mashed potatoes, and either Mary's golden gravy or enchilada sauce on top. I'm happy as a clam, literally. Or soups. I really enjoy them. My family, not so much. So I'm always happy when I make a soup. If it's hearty enough, I'll use what do they call those spoons with the holes in them? Kathy, help me out there.
I don't know the name of it, but I know what you're talking about. There, like, it would be like a wooden spoon like this, but it has a hole.
Yeah, so what I do, well, it has little holes in it. So what I do is I'll get that
Oh, a
so that
strainer?
all the not a strainer, but I get it so that all of the yeah, like that, the juices
Okay.
come out, and the broth is safe for me, and my family has the heartier stuff, and then I just have more soup. So for me, I'm not trying to like go on a diet. I mean, it's already pretty much the way I eat. I just make sure I eat soup because I enjoy it and I know I'm going to have a higher calorie fat day coming up. And I think the difference between that and dieting is that in dieting, you're usually trying to look for a weight. I'm not looking for a weight. I'm just looking at, hey, if I'm going to expend enough fat and calories on one day, that's probably good for the next, I don't know, 2 to 4 weeks, then yeah, I want to be mindful of what I'm eating. And not so much as, I let me back it up. It's like during that time, if I had beans and rice, I wouldn't put any bit of avocado on it. If like I make my daughter a butter sauce that has cashews as a base. Now I don't usually use it personally. It's only for her, but I would definitely make sure during this time I wouldn't have a bite of her pasta if she had some left over. So it's just little things like that that I make sure. I don't go out of my way to exercise crazy ever. I do not have the time, energy, or effort. Trust me.
So one
And
thing I would kind of ask you about this is, so if someone does have a past history of some kind of eating disorder, that is there a way that you, because you, as far as I know, you don't, and I feel like you can talk about things stronger. So sometimes people that do have to be really gentle with themselves. I think kind of has to go, well, I'm just going to eat to my absolute goal for this week instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to really like try to lose 5 pounds before my birthday. That
yeah, you
how
should
would you
never
feel?
do not ever try to give yourself a number to lose by a certain date. Ever. Because let's be honest, I've seen that enough. Oh, I'm getting married. I've got to be this weight on my wedding day. And guess what? You can lose weight a lot of ways. And hey, by eating soup and potatoes, that's the way I lost it. And, it wasn't overnight, but it was great. And it worked for me. And I still ate food. I know lots of people that starve themselves or they're bulimics or they do cocaine, or back in the day they did biphenyl 20s. I mean, let's face it, there's thousands of ways to lose weight. And to me, when I say that I'm just eating healthier and lower calorie density, it's not to really lose weight in the sense that I'm trying to lose weight. It's just, hey, I know a big fat day is coming up and I'm just prepping for it. It's no different than if you're going to go out camping and you make sure you have your tent and your lighter fluid and everything you need to take camping with you. That's what I do. And as for people with eating disorders, I mean, I've personally known people throughout my life that have had different eating disorders, and it's very individualistic. I don't think you cannot talk to one person the exact same as another. There's always some type of variance to it, and and I think that it's important to be able to recognize and kind of be able to look at, well, what drove you to that? What are the root causes? But then again, I'm also not a psychologist or a therapist. I mean, I think that there are some really great people out there that can help you. And I know that there's other programs, like Overeaters Anonymous, work for some, damage others. And there's a couple of others, Bright Line Eating. I've heard the exact same things. I've had patients that have absolutely said it really worked for them. And I had patients that said that it put them in a black hole. So, it's a very difficult thing to try to blanketly say something about an eating disorder personally for me, on an internet show. Like that.
Oh,
That's
sure,
a
sure, sure. I wasn't wanting you to give a blanket statement or anything. I just wanted to also just kind of bring up, because while you may talk about it in your own head one way, somebody else may need to talk about it another way. Like just like you said,
Absolutely.
that's all I was looking for sure. And before we come back to the juice, I want to go back because Tanya was saying, I just meant for me, I couldn't change my behavior in anticipation because my brain would feel deprived, even though it wasn't the case. And it would trigger me to try and lose a few pounds before having cake. So I think, like for me, a lot of times I just have to think, I just want to work my plan, whatever, and that's whatever your plan is, whatever doctor you're following. Here it's the Starch Solution Show, so you're probably following Dr. McDougall or thinking about it. And Tanya's saying the same thing. What works for one person just wouldn't work for another. And absolutely, because I can be an all or nothing person as well. So I know I've had to taper how I speak to myself about things and goals that I set. Like for me, it's a much healthier thing to say something like, this week I am going to have oatmeal every morning and I'm going to have rice or potatoes for dinner every night. Maybe
Yeah.
soup. And I love soups too. Finally, after like 12 years, Cheryl likes soup as much as I do. So, praise whoever. I'm having soup in the house all the time now, which is so awesome. Because I'm on Team Tiffany with soup because especially this time of the year, it's so warming and filling and delicious and just, it's so comforting. I'm trying to go back to Mona had a question, and I asked a follow-up question. Okay, good. So I'm going to be able to give you the rest of hopefully your second question is going to be, what are Tiffany's thoughts on a morning juice hampering weight loss? I have one that helps me get in fresh turmeric and ginger. I asked a follow-up question about what else was in the juice, because without that wasn't going to help. Let me find it. Parsley, cilantro, habanero, apple, ginger, turmeric root, are cucumber and lemon, and there's some other juices. Some veggies are fruit, but that's all.
Right.
It seems like apple is probably the one that's making it palatable.
Well, okay, so here's the skinny on juicing and smoothies. Um, the mechanism in which you eat a fruit or vegetable is that you eat it and then your saliva comes in and it breaks down the fruits and vegetables. and then you swallow the food, and then your body goes through its biochemical processes, for those of you that remember NAD plus, all that great stuff. And your body gets what it needs out of the food that you've just consumed, and then it goes out. Now, when you drink a juice, what you've done first is that you have pulverized the fruit, vegetables, or herbs that are in there. So you've now changed their molecular structure. So when you drink a juice, your saliva glands are never inactivated. And one of the first things that it does to your body is it shoots up your insulin levels. So at the McDougall program, we just, we don't really recommend you drinking juice. Now, if you had juice once in a while, is that a big deal? No. If you wanted to do, let's say, hot water with maybe a little bit of lemon and you threw in some ginger and turmeric and drink that, that's fine. I don't really have a stance on that outside of, what we say at McDougall, that we don't overall recommend you drinking smoothies and fruit juices all the time. Yeah, but if you find that you have this, it makes you energized, you're at your health goals that you want to be, and they're not impeding them. It's not McDonald's. So I think sometimes we have to kind of have a realistic overview of it. Like, where are you at with your health goals and why are you doing it? If you're doing, like, some people tell me, oh, I want to make a really big smoothie because it'll help me not eat throughout the day. Well, I kind of want you to eat throughout the day. Have a couple of bites of potatoes, have a couple of bites of apple, have a few bites of whatever, there's something called the hunger drive. Pardon me, my throat. And your hunger drive tells you when you're hungry. And your thirst drive tells you when you're thirsty. And that's something that we just really believe in. Pardon me.
And that's okay. And so Mona was saying that's really helpful. Let me come over here. I'll get a comment. Thank you. As that's helpful, I always have to have a steamed bag of broccoli afterwards. I'm almost like most things that make you want to have steamed broccoli, I think probably are good things. I could be wrong there. I'm not you, but I think a lot of people are doing like turmeric and ginger for inflammation in general. Like turmeric is known, like my ex-doctor had us take turmeric instead of like ibuprofen if we had a headache and things like that. And I do make a golden milk, but you can also get teas, like ginger turmeric teas that you can brew. And it, depending on the quality of the turmeric, it should be similar. But I am not a food scientist either, so I don't know the exact amounts, but I make like a mix, a golden milk mix that you can spend $50 on the store for a little thing, or you can mix turmeric, powdered ginger, and spices and do it yourself. And I just put it in, actually I put it in tea a lot. I have it by itself. It can be really nice, but and I don't know if you heard Mona said that she always has a steamed bag of broccoli after she has her juice. And I was like, that sounds like a win-win to me. I'm like, anything that makes you eat a whole bag of broccoli doesn't sound so bad, but I'll leave it to Tiffany. And she said, yeah, that's why I have the juice plus the habanero is for inflammation. And Tanya has a smoothie that she uses turmeric and ginger in. Let's see.
So my question, excuse me. Sorry, everybody. I am under the
She's
weather
sick
today.
and hanging out with us. So you get a medal.
Thank you. My first question is, why aren't you eating it? Because one thing I learned when I first worked retail pharmacy when I was 18, we had in the refrigerator always jalapenos. So that when people start getting sick, because pharmacy gets everything, we just go in and eat them to this day. We grow tons of peppers. I'm the first one. I will just straight up eat it, or I'll take a bite of something and then I take a bite of the pepper. Why not do that? As for, I know of golden milk. I actually used to teach Kundalini yoga a long time ago under a different name. And when I did that, we used to always make like a tea at the end. And in the tea, there was tons of water, whole black peppercorns. What else was in it? Ginger, cardamom pods. There's lots of things that like you could just infuse and make into a tea that I think are fantastic. That don't also have the extra calories as you would in a smoothie.
Yeah, and another thing, and just you saying black pepper reminded me too, because in my golden milk I put some black pepper. You need black pepper to somehow process the turmeric. Go ask a scientist. But I've read it enough times that I'm pretty much believing it. Also, if you look at any of the traditional Indian recipes, they all have it as well. And usually that happens for a reason. And it's not black pepper like it's spicy and it tastes like a savory thing. And Tanya's too. So Tanya's talking about smoothies, but also she's saying, I eat as well, but I'm not trying to lose weight. She just looks forward to her morning smoothies and she'd be sad without them. And I think that's very different than someone who's trying to lose weight, who is having a morning smoothie and is not having that needle budge. Because we've heard last year, Stacy said a lot, it depends on how your goals are working for you. So a lot of times, especially in the Starch Solution conversations that we have, we are talking about, someone who's stuck and things like that. Do you feel, because if someone's maintaining their weight fine, do you have some special things that you go along? I'm not there yet, so I haven't heard that spiel.
Well, if somebody's maintaining their weight and all their numbers look great and they're healthy, then the smoothie's not going to kill you. It's a totally different conversation than if I have somebody who is struggling and their weight hasn't budged in 3 months. So, so it's just when you're in maintenance land, you want to have like a range. I think it's healthy to have, within probably a good 7 to 10 pound range, and where you want to kind of pretty much be in the middle. The middles are great. If you start going up and it's like you're 5, 7 pounds over, that's a red flag. Oh, what have I been doing lately? I should maybe just get back down to it, because in maintenance land, you have more leeway because you're there, so maybe in maintenance land, you were having avocado toast once every 2 weeks, once every week. All of a sudden, it's every other day, and then you notice your weight's growing up. Then you go, okay, well, can't have avocado toast every other day, so it's always those little personal tweaks that you can do. Just as, hey, I think that that's really important in maintaining your weight, is that you have to know yourself too. If I find that sometimes people have had this idea of losing weight for so long that it's like they're on a bicycle and they keep going and going and going and going, and then they hit their target goal, which it shouldn't be one number. It should be a range, because nobody is the same weight every day, ever. But they get to that kind of target range goal, or, deep down, they don't tell me, but they have that number. And then they want to now lose more weight. And it's because they've been on this bicycle of losing weight for so long, they don't know when to stop, because that's where their headspace has been. So it's very important to recognize, hey, I'm good. I can regulate myself. If I lost a pound or two, well, it's not going to kill me. I'm still within my range. If I gain a pound or two, it's not going to kill me. But, maybe I should look at what I've been doing over the last week and kind of readjust. Sometimes it's something as people gain weight because they had too much sodium one night, or they traveled. There's lots of ways people can gain weight. It doesn't need to be, chocolate mousse.
Right. And like, if you're not eating a lot of salt, when I cook at home, I don't cook with a lot of salt at all. Mm-hmm. So when we eat out, I can tell how much salt I had the next day. I'm definitely like, my fingers will be a little swollen and things like that. And then I'm like, ooh, I'm glad that I'm going back home to have soup that I salted myself. Because even if you look at some of the cooking shows, like they're salting like 17 times. And I
Oh,
just,
God, love
it,
it.
they salt when you saute the onions. They salt when you add this. They salt, 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 salt. And
Oh, or when you boil pasta, make the water the salinity of the sea. I love that line. I love cooking shows. Sometimes I like to like watch carnival eats. If you guys have ever seen that, it's actually what I go to do at a carnival. I go to carnivals to see what people are eating, and then I take pictures and I send them to our nutritionist Jeff Novick and go, "Oh my God!" And I have to have my family actually place them in such a way that I could take pictures of people without them knowing them. Now, of course, I'm not publishing these photos of random people I don't know. It's more for Jeff because I also want him to know, hey, this is what people are eating these days. Because I actually cannot fathom people eat like fried Oreos or they have a burger, but the bun is a donut. Like these are things that like I'm like, wow, even back before I decided to become healthy in my 20s, these are things I just would have never have fathomed to eat back then. So, it's kind of an evil fun for me. And then I play a game where my daughter, who's almost 10, and my husband, we play it. It's called Guess What Medication That Person's On. So literally, like I'll see what like somebody's eating, and it's like, oh God, they've got to be on Crestor 40. Absolutely. And I think they're on two blood pressure medications. And maybe my daughter will chime in. She's like, oh yeah, mom. Yeah, well, what if they have diabetes? So I mean, it's just something that I don't mean to poke fun of in a horrible way, but it's a realistic way of looking at food that the way it's presented on TV, it's never like that. It's very, food is presented very sexy. My daughter, she loves
oh, yes.
brunch with Bobby. My God. Except I will say, because of Bobby Flay, I know how to make a great latte at home, old traditional Italian style, and I can make it McDougal. I just don't use regular milk. I just use unsweetened almond. Fantastic. So Bobby Flay, if he's actually out there, I love you. But my daughter loves watching him. And she will say, Mommy, I can make that for you without the eggs. And I'm like, yeah, you can. So even she looks at these shows and realizes, oh, that's what they do usually. But how can you tweak it to make it at home? And I think that's really something to take away from all of these different cooking shows is, you know, wow, that's fantastic. Personally, I don't cook with salt. I tell everybody who comes over to my house, there's the salt. It's French. It's my favorite. Use it as you need it because I won't salt food unless it's just right on top. But these are fun things to kind of look at. I draw inspiration all the time whenever I watch cooking shows. Our favorite show right now is a baking show about themes of Harry Potter. And I am astounded what these bakers can create. Do I want to eat it? No, but the artistry, I mean, everybody, I mean, remember, chefs did not go to nutrition school. They're not nutritionists, they're chefs. They learned about what protein and your carb and your fat and how all that pairs together. So, it's their own artistry in a way. So again, I'm an optimist. I'm always trying to like look at the positive. I like cooking shows and go, okay, I never thought about putting those two herbs together and look at the vegetable that they use. I bet I could do something like that at home. So that's what I love about cooking shows is that they're always evolving, they're always changing, there's always new ideas out there. I mean, and Kathy, I mean, look at so many of the different vegetarian, vegan cookbook authors. A lot of them first get inspiration from how they grew up. They just twisted it to make it vegetarian or vegan.
Absolutely. And anything, like almost anything can be made in a healthy version. Like last year we did a dinner party class and I made a faux steak Oscar with like jackfruit crab meat and a portobello mushroom. There's just so many things. And I made I can't remember how I did it, but I made kind of an oil-free hollandaise sauce. It did have some salt in it because it had some kala namak in it to make it taste like eggs. But all my recipes have the option to leave that out. And the thing is whatever you see, I do that because some people have cravings, or maybe your parents always made steak oxker, which I had never had in meaty version, every New Year's. Well, now you can have something that gives you all those flavor hits that work with whatever your dietary need is. And I like McDougall best because I can serve that puppy on a big slab of mashed potatoes, which is one of my favorite things to eat, right? And I'm like, anything on top of a big, beautiful pile of mashed potatoes. Even I went to a buffet on Thanksgiving that was an all-vegan buffet. It's on the channel. It's huge. And so I had a dinner plate, and probably more than a third of the plate was mashed potatoes. Because, yeah, everything else I just took little bites of. And you know what? I didn't go back. I was full from my potatoes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Was it perfect? Was it 110% McDougall? No, I don't know what they put in the potatoes. I was okay with that. For that day, if they didn't taste really, I can tell if they have a lot of oil in things too. Yeah. But I'm not saying they were oil-free because they probably weren't at one point or the other. But of the choices that I had, I had gotten a separate side salad, and the salad was so overdressed that I didn't eat that. And that eating those mashed potatoes was a much better choice, just even oil-wise. So everything comes down to such little specifics, right, in your life to kind of look around. Tanya says she has a food background, and she says, I love all the vegan chefs too. I wish the fun cake shows had some. I'm watching the Harry Potter one now. Now I'm going to have to watch the Harry Potter one. You guys are keeping me busy.
I'm astounded. And actually, I know somebody who knows personally one of the chefs that is competing on it. So we're all rooting for that particular chef. But yeah, even my husband said, how do we watch any other baking shows after watching this?
Oh, I definitely have to watch it.
That is how intricate these bakers are. Absolutely.
Well, it's amazing. I love watching the Halloween wars and stuff because you get pumpkin carving, candy making, which I will never ever do in my life because I'm like, I won't do glass blowing either because I will lose a hand. I'm just not confident. I did metal work for a little while and I was like, that was scary enough. And did I touch the hot metal? Of course I did. So no, I don't. So I like watching it because it's the same. It's this beautiful artistry. Yeah. So I am very curious. Plus, it just feeds me my little Halloween hit before Halloween, and I like that. Tanya says it's so fun. Oh, Fred and George Weasley are the hosts. Oh, and she wants to know which chef you know.
I don't know if I can. I don't know the chef personally. It's a close friend of mine who knows the chef.
Okay.
So I don't know it, but we are rooting for this particular chef, and if you are up to date, that chef is still on. So we're very excited.
That's good. And Karen has a question. She said, I find soup super bland without salt. Does Tiffany have any tips for how she seasons her soups?
Absolutely. Let me help you help yourself. Don't go by a recipe if you like seasoning. Let me give you a hint or a couple examples. I love Kathy Fisher, and her straight up food cookbook is fantastic. Really is. But when Kathy says 2 cloves of garlic, I put in 9. When she says a tablespoon of oregano, I just open in either the jar or I go in my refrigerator where I have all my extra bags of spices and herbs, and I just open it up and I just start dumping. What I found was, coming from the American Standard Diet, when you don't have animal fat that you're rendering for a lot of those different flavors, especially if you grew up eating the old way, then it always feels like you're missing something. So to me, what I found was if I dump even more herbs and spices in something, it really starts to recreate that taste that you lost. But again, like I said, I have my French fleur de sel salt, and I tell you, I will salt my soup. Some soups I might put Frank's hot sauce in it. Some soups I might put Tabasco. Others maybe sriracha. I'm always looking at, well, what else can I put in a soup? We also have flavored salts, like we have a black scorpion, a chili lime. What else do we have? I have a Merlot salt. So I don't boo salt at all. Personally, I don't have hypertension, so I don't have to worry about that. And not even people that have hypertension, not all have to worry about salt if they're just salting their food right before they eat it. But really, that's where you want the hit of salt, is right on top of your food before you eat it. And there are times where I make soup and I put like a little bit of salt on top and I eat that whole layer. And then I grab the salt and put a little more. My husband's right next to me going, "Are you kidding me? Do you really need that much salt?" And I'm like, "Oh, baby, it's okay. I already ate the top layer. This is the next layer for the last half of the soup." So, just use it as you need it to make your food taste better. That's what it's there for.
Two things that I would add to that. One is, especially with like winter squash sort of soups, a little swirl of balsamic changes the world. And if you are in a position where you can't have salt at all for a dietary reason, medical reason, I have the easiest, cheapest salt substitute. I call it my plain salt substitute. It's 1 tablespoon garlic powder, 1 tablespoon onion powder, 1 teaspoon ground celery seed mixed together and sprinkled on top. The celery seeds actually have a tiny bit of sodium, nothing like salt, but the garlic and the onion hit those spots that your tongue is expecting to be hit, so that can help too.
Right.
And Sandy says she uses nutritional yeast. I use a lot of nutritional yeast. Well, not like cups of nutritional yeast, but I often use nutritional yeast in soups. Squeeze a lemon, cook celery seed into it, and she also uses balsamic. And I think that's one of the things, and when you're talking about not necessarily following the recipe, I am on your team, but I want to caution other people to do it in if you're not used to doing that, take what's in the recipe, try it, then try one more. So like I'm often am in Kathy's Cooking Club creating recipes and just show you how to do this. So I'll go, oh, I think this is what I'm going to start with. And I'll tell you what I'm tasting for, why I'm adding one thing versus another. And I kind of feel like there are these 3 levels. This is a Kathyism. I'm sure there's some other way of putting it. So like a lot of times you want something high, like that's lighter. Sometimes I'll add jalapeno powder into something and that gives a little bit of that, or citrus or balsamic. That umami base that sometimes is missing from vegan food, mushroom powder, tomato powder. And I'm not talking about like a cup. I mean, sometimes I'll put a half a teaspoon of tomato powder in there. You could use tomato paste, but most of the time we don't want to do that in a half teaspoon and have all that left over. But there's all different kinds of things. Nutritional yeast adds that kind of little bit. And really expand your spice cabinet. If you have regular oregano or Italian oregano, try Mexican oregano. It has a lemony flavor. It's like in between marjoram and Italian oregano. And you can go to a place that sells bulk herbs. Not all Whole Foods do it anymore, but I think Sprouts does, and most co-ops. You can buy a teaspoon of a spice or herb. And then if you don't like it, you didn't waste $10.
Exactly. But it depends too, like who the chef is. I always say when you're looking at recipes, know who the person that made it is coming from. Know their style. It's easier for you then to tweak it out. Like I have recipes online where I've had somebody email me once and said, "Do you really put that much oregano and garlic in your Greek potatoes?" And I had to answer back and go, "You know what? I never follow recipes when I cook at home, so I probably have more." So it always, it depends. I mean, and not only that, but dehydrated mushrooms are fantastic. If you throw some in a huge pot of water and let them sit for 8 to 12 hours, you have an amazing broth right there and you didn't do anything at all. So if I make broth from scratch, that's the way I do it because uh, I don't have time. Like I have a composter, but I'm not literally going to go, oh, this is for my broth later and this is for the composter. My husband will shoot me. I'm not going to do that.
One thing I do with mushrooms, I think that's great too. Like, so when I try to go to different ethnic markets to get things more affordable. So I get my shiitake mushrooms at an Asian market. They're usually significantly larger. They have very large stems. You can eat the stems. I usually just pull them all out and throw them. I've got a Breville, so I used to hydrate them and keep them in a thing until I have enough to pulverize, and I make I call it free mushroom powder because I probably paid $4 or $5 a pound for these mushrooms. So it is free. If I bought those mushrooms at Whole Foods, they would have cost me $60 or something. And then you can also slice up mushrooms and throw them in the freezer, just like that. So a lot of times I'll get my once a quarter, get a bunch of mushrooms. I would not do it with the oyster mushrooms. Those are too delicate, but that or buttons. So, and I don't like cherry tomatoes. So when I used to have a CSA, I would just dehydrate them and make them into tomato powder. That's how I started using tomato powder to begin with. But you can get all that stuff. You can buy it or make it yourself depending on where you are in your life. We just made, I made dry sauce mixes, and we made mason jar soup mixes in class last month. And so we use lots of mushroom powder and tomato powder and things like that, because then sometimes it is nice to be able to just add some water. I made some homemade ramen soups. I got some dried miso, and we're going to do that in a new class. We're going to dehydrate our own miso and soy sauce powder coming up. But
Oh, nice.
and again, it's not for every time, but I can tell you with all the busyness and the travel, me having, a vegetable noodle soup or a split pea soup that I can just pour everything into the slow cooker with some water, that's one day I know we're not going to mess up. We're not going to be like, oh, we're too tired, we're hungry, we need to just do something right now, because that's when we mess up the most.
Yeah, I mean, in my pantry, I always have rice. I always have different potatoes. And then depending on, what vegetables I have, I do a reverse shopping list. So when a lot of people go to the store, unless there's something specifically my family has said, hey, will you make this? Then I go and I usually have kind of the same things I buy all the time. I always have kale, bell peppers. Man, I got carrots coming out of your ears, literally. I've got enough garlic for, probably the whole state of California. Like, there are certain things I always have. And then when I come home, I look at the rest of my pantry, from either what I bought or what was already left over from there. And then I create everything I can make that I have at home. And this way, it's one of those things that sometimes you decide, oh, I'm going to make this, and then it comes that day and you're not really into it. So now I just look at my list and go, okay, well, with everything I have, I can make all of these different items. And I find that's really helpful, especially having an almost 10-year-old. I mean, she's pretty basic. Literally, she could have like maybe 6 things over a rotation and she's great. And literally that's nothing at all. But sometimes she's like, oh, well, I don't want that tonight. What else can we have? Oh, let's do, like a sloppy Joe type of recipe with lentils, or, I mean, things like that really help when you have a deconstructed list from coming home and looking at what can I make, because then it even opens you up to more possibilities.
I love that too. I think that's a great idea. Sometimes I get excited and I'm like, ooh, I've cooked for the week. And Cheryl's like, yeah, I'm not going to eat any of that. She doesn't say that, but that's what's going on in the back of her head a little bit. It just depends, because she can be moodier about food. We both take it at certain times. So for a while, all summer, her favorite thing was a baked potato with mustard on it. So I could have whatever I wanted to have, and she could have her baked potato. Well, now she doesn't want that, so we have to kind of refigure things out, because it's a good point that you can have a plan, and maybe the rest of your family could throw maybe not a wrench exactly, but a curveball. Maybe that's a better way. You could step out of the way, and you can still have your food, or you could go, ooh, sloppy lentils sounds like a really great time today. That sounds good.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
but
and
I
there's sometimes that my husband, he's not really big, pardon me, into leftovers, but there's certain things that he'll eat 2 or 3 nights in a row if I made different sauces for him to put on top of it. That's why I really like macro bowls, because I'll make my ginger miso dressing for him. Then maybe another night he wants Szechuan. Then another night he wants teriyaki. Then on night number 4, I better have a whole new meal plan. So it depends on how busy we are. That sometimes doing like bowls where I've just roasted a ton of sweet potatoes and potatoes, and I like quinoa with bowls better than rice personally. We got kale, we got steamed carrots. Sometimes I'll dry fry, or actually I don't. He will dry fry tofu because he says he does it better than I do. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. But we do little things like that so that we know that, hey, depending on the sauce, it really does change up the whole like trajectory of what you're eating, even when you're eating the same type of thing over and over again.
I totally agree. And a while back, I did a lentil quinoa class, and we made a big batch of lentils and a big batch of quinoa, and we made 6 different recipes with it. Like completely different, and you can always do that. An unseasoned bean can turn into all kinds of things. And if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're like, yeah, beans are far out of my reach, but you want some, I always keep some cans of beans, even though I cook most of mine from scratch, because and if you go to healthyslowcooking.com, the easiest red beans and rice recipe. So I don't know, Tiffany, if you've had any. There's a brand, Blue Runner beans from New Orleans, that has cottonseed oil. It's probably 50% cottonseed oil.
Oh, wait, let me help you.
Oh, do you have Blue Runner beans?
Oh, hell no, I have
Okay,
vanilla.
because I was like, yeah. So I take a can of kidney beans, and what I do is put the aquafaba and everything in the pan. You smash half the beans, put in all the Cajun seasonings. It's done in less than 15 minutes. While have some rice or some leftover rice, and it looks just like Blue Runner beans. It has the creamy mouthfeel of Blue Runner beans. And you don't need to have any oil at all. But like that's our favorite. If I'm working on a book, especially, and I've like already made 10 recipes, I don't want to eat any of it because I've been working on it's work. And tomorrow it won't be work and I can eat it. But that day I have to make something special, and so I'll just throw that in, put in a few things. You can use your favorite Cajun seasoning blend, a few other things, and you're done. So don't let any of the things sound intimidating. If you have the teaspoons today, then prep some baked potatoes, prep a batch of rice.
Yeah.
If you know it's going to be a hard time, grab the frozen hash browns, grab some frozen vegetables. Do you have any other quick tips for people if they're just exhausted? Like last week, after spending 4 days in a row with people in large rooms, like I could hardly speak. I'm actually a true introvert. And so I just made everything as basic as we can make it. So
Yeah.
if someone's having that kind of holiday, what would you suggest to them?
Yeah, I am all about, because I do have weeks where, like Monday through Thursday, everything's micromanaged from about 4 a.m. until I sit on the couch at 9:30 p.m. So when I have days like that, that's where I have my rice cooker. I'll get that out. Or I don't even bake potatoes, because to me, the time I have to take to scrub meticulously every potato and then stab it to death all over, um, it takes way too much time. But what I do is I'll rinse potato, I get out my trusty peeler, peel that baby up, cut it in half, put it down, cut those in half, and then I turn it around and I just chunk them up, and I do an assembly line of steaming. And I do it on things that are very easy for me to put together, cut up or put together. So always potatoes and carrots, number one. Kale's easy. I just rinse and strip it off the stalk and forget about it. But then what I do is I take my steamer and I let it come to steam. And then first I'll do the carrots. And then when they're done, I check the water level, rinse the middle part out, put it back, get it up to steam. Then I do kale, then I do potatoes. So that now I have a plethora of food and I could utilize it in many ways. Like steamed potatoes, I can warm them up, put whether it's low sodium vegetable broth, if you want to do water, if you want to do like for us, it would be an unsweetened almond milk. I can whip up fresh mashed potatoes because personally, I am not a potato flake girl to make mashed potatoes instantly. So if I want instant mashed potatoes, that's the way I do it, is from the the steamed potatoes I had in my refrigerator. Or I put them on parchment paper, put them in whether it's my oven or I have a Breville toaster oven. Uh, Put them in there, broil it 20 minutes maybe. And when I broil, I don't use a very top one. I have burned potatoes in my past. So make sure that oven is ajar. And even in my Breville, I have it in the middle and they get super crispy. And now I've got roasted potatoes that I didn't have to do anything with. So I'm really into super quick things like that. Or peel a potato, cut it so it's about maybe this thick, put it in a non-stick skillet, maybe anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes one side, depending on your heat setting. Flip them 3 to 7 on the next. Now you've got potatoes already made. You could actually do that in less time than you could make frozen hash browns in your oven. And when I make hash browns frozen, that's what I do. Pardon me. I get a baking sheet, parchment paper, put all the hash browns that are frozen on there to make sure it's an even layer. And then I preheat my oven to about 375, 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Throw those babies in. And the nice thing about that is at about 20, 25 minutes, check them because, depending on where you live, the altitude and all of that. What I like is I don't have to flip them over. When they're done, they're done. But if I want quick potatoes, I can have my potatoes quicker if I've already had them either prepped, with steam. Another great way to with steamed potatoes is take the back of a fork or spoon, smash them down in a skillet, a little bit of low sodium vegetable broth, all the spices you want, just warm those babies up. Voila. So there's so many great ways that you can turn around something that you prepped and cooked that isn't really difficult. Because if I can do it on a Monday through Thursday when I have no time, you can do it too. And even my daughter says, Mommy, you're not cooking, you're boiling water.
And that's what I call cheater meals. So I was actually live with Chef AJ or something, and I had said cheater meals, and she's like, "Do you mean like cheating on your diet?" I'm like, "No, it feels like cheating because it took 10 minutes to make." Not even associating it with the other thing, but it is really nice to have these meals that you can just kind of like pull up. Like someone was saying, they have chronic fatigue syndrome. Also,
Right.
we're socializing a lot. People are more likely to get sick right now. So kind of having a few, for me, if I have that one serving of soup, Cheryl decided she didn't like it, so I've been eating it for a long time. I put it in something and put it in the freezer. And I'm putting it in the freezer for my future self. If she doesn't feel good, all she has to do is microwave something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tiffany. Do you have anything
Yep.
else that you want to talk about? I know you're not feeling good, and I feel like an hour and a half is plenty for you. You need to go back and have some rest.
I don't have time for that today.
Do you have more stuff to do today?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No worries. This was easy. All right. Yeah. Does anybody have any other questions?
Someone is saying, is vegan butter a no-no? If you're on a
Yeah.
no-oil diet, it is. So if you're not following the starch solution, something else, you would have to look at that plan. However, on any whole food, plant-based, no oil diet, vegan butter is almost all oil.
It is. I mean, and not only that, but here's the unfortunate part about the vegan fake meats, cheeses, and butters is that they're actually worse than the animal products. So if you're vegan for ethical reasons, I absolutely understand that, but I would say if you want to be a healthy vegan, you want to avoid those and try to figure out different ways to kind of play around it.
Yeah, and one thing that we do for corn, this is not potatoes, but we get a slice of lime, like a wedge of lime, and we just run it across the corn and then put it in the air fryer, and you don't miss the butter at all. Like Cheryl was shocked, and that's how we have it all the time now. And yeah, Sandy, I was going to mention the corn butter. There is a corn butter. I have a corn butter recipe in one. I'm thinking of trying to tweak it a little bit into kind of like a buttery sauce and get all the little skins out, but that's in process. It hasn't been done. So I was thinking because sunflower lecithin has a little bit of butter flavor. You might be able to put a sprinkle. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but that's also usually what's in corn butter, has a little bit of that.
Yeah, and remember, what I find interesting is if you go back to butter, right? Not baking where you would have unsalted, but when people will put, like with bread, when they put butter in a restaurant, what is that butter? It is salt and fat. So what I will do is like if I'm somewhere and they have really great bread and I want to have some, and I see everybody with their fabulous artesian butter, I just get salt and cracked black pepper. It's fantastic. If you haven't tried it, please do.
Yeah, and that's true too. TS was saying, does the corn butter taste anything like the vegan butter? No, because the vegan butter tastes closer to real butter. It's because you're getting a rounder mouthfeel from the fat.
Yeah.
So it's just a different animal. It's also the same way as like my oat nacho cheese sauce. It's not made with nuts. It's just made with oats, magic, and a Vitamix, pretty much. It's great. I like the texture of it better than the cashew one that people make, but it's still not going to have exactly the taste of the queso from your favorite restaurant. It's going to be slightly different. I use a little lactic acid to bring a little more cheesy up there, but just one of the things that I've noticed, especially if you're doing whole food, plant-based, no oil, people are just happy to have a facsimile of what they're remembering oftentimes. So like I like muffins. I don't eat them that often, but I made some pumpkin ones, no oil, a little bit of flaxseed with some dates. You could use any sweetener you wanted. And one of those did fine. I had a little mini muffin and I was happy. But someone else, if you were going in and looking for the best vegan pumpkin muffin you will ever eat in your life, that wasn't it. Quite honest, was it for me? Yes. But it's not going to win any pastry competitions, right? And I just want to say that because like your expectations, if you set them too high for something that you're expecting to have this exact duplicate, you could be let down a little bit. However, if you miss having that moist, delicious spread on a piece of bread at a holiday meal, corn butter probably will do you just fine. That's my opinion. And I like Stacy. Jesus, I'm so sorry, Tiffany. I over people last week. My brain is broken.
Fine. Don't worry. Well, like we were away for the holiday, and my daughter ended up getting sick, and then I got sick, and I've pretty much nailed it to where we got sick, and it was from an arcade. But it's well worth the sickness because together we beat Halo. And if you're a gamer and you've tried playing Halo in an arcade where you got like, two people like side by side working together, this is an endeavor. And my daughter said, Halo got us sick. And I'm like, I know. But, just don't worry about that. I mean, the holidays, that's kind of the beauty about that. Embrace the chaos. Yeah, when I was single, one of my favorite things to do on Thanksgiving was I'd get off work at the hospital and I would go and get like rolls, or maybe I'd pick a bottle of wine to wherever I was going. And literally, I would just watch people. And it's crazy because it's supposed to be a family happy time, but everybody's absolutely crazy and their family's making them even crazier. It's hilarious. So just embrace this time of year, really.
I like that. Embrace the chaos. For me, I usually I'm going and doing the things. In fact, we're going on away twice this month, which is crazy. And I'm also planning my little pockets of all alone in bed reading time, or taking a walk. Like kind of when you were saying when you're gearing up for a special dinner or something, you make sure to take a walk. When I know that a certain time period may be more stressful, I try to take daily walks. It helps your body, but it also helps your mind. So there's lots of good reasons. And if you can't have, or you don't have that kind of mobility, even just doing some chair exercise and grounding in your body can really help a lot. Tanya says, calmly chaotic. And I think that's my word for the month. I'll take that, my phrase. Well, I hope you get better quick so you get to enjoy all the rest of December.
Oh, I will. Don't worry. Whether I'm sick or not, I will still enjoy it. I was half for dead, and I made sure that I went to the Dickens Fair this weekend. And then we're going back, except I didn't dress up as I usually do. I was like, I'm not dealing with that right now. But then I went there, and I felt very odd. So I can't wait to go back. I love this time of year.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Stacy, Jesus, I am so sorry. You can like whip me later or something. I don't know what's going on. I think it's just my brain is on habit mode or something. Tiffany, we are here with Tiffany, the lovely Tiffany, the Tiffany who loves Halloween, who I love. And one day my brain will understand that. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing all this with us, especially with you not feeling well. That was just really, really kind of you to do. And be kind to yourself and make sure you get enough rest and fun, both.
And that goes, of tea.
Yeah, lots of tea. My Crafty Adventure says, I've called my son my brother's name for 19 years. Well, you've been on the show several times now, and I haven't ever called you the wrong name until today. And today I'm doing it like, I think I'm 50 or 60% out now. But you guys, all of you, just take note of what's going on for you this month, how you're feeling, how the weather's going, how your mental health is. And just try and make sure that you're planning some things that feed your soul. If that's reading a book in front of the fireplace, or taking a walk, or eating a lovely soup, right? So make sure you're doing some of those things, because it's really easy for us to focus outward and try and take care of everybody else. I'm going to let Tiffany stop coughing. I feel like I got a win there. Okay, My Crafty Adventure says, Kathy, this is Caroline from eCam. Hey, that's the software I use to go live. So we go to Creator Camp in Massachusetts and hang out with everybody. It's like, they're lovely people. It's a hug fest. Poor Tiffany.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, we're going to go now and just say whatever your final words are, and then I will just finish up.
Fantastic. Have a wonderful holiday season, everyone. I'll see you in the new year.
Bye, everybody.